Tuesday.
Well, that many people, I had a guy argue me doing a fight because he said, "You said that." I said, "I didn't say it." I said, I'm pretty sure it's true. The words come out of my mouth. If I heard you say it, maybe you're hearing things.
Maybe you just want to pick the fight.
That's a lot of people fight. I lived in California. There's a guy there that wanted me to go to a bar because there was a guy in the bar who used to pick fights with the smallest guy in the bar. And he wanted to beat this guy up. He used me in the bait. And I was like, no. Heavenly Father, welcome into this house with us, your Holy Spirit upon us. Have us to discern your holy word and how it is written, what we should see and hear. We ask this in Jesus' name.
What chapter again?
Pretty much the homecoming. No, mentally, and the internal thoughts. Okay. So, where we left off, Joseph's reunited with his brothers. Okay. That took some convincing because they didn't see him until like 20 years, 30 years. He was 30 years old when he went into the service of Pharaoh. Okay.
He's 17.
So that's 13 years, and that's a long time.
Well, then, at least 7, 8.
Yeah, this is something.
Well, yeah, over 7
Yeah. So, anyways, it's understandable that his brother didn't recognize him. It's hard to believe that he recognized them. Yeah. But I think he recognized small facial features and behavior because that's basically something that was not changed behavior. They just get, you know, some people say you get better with age, depends on your attitude, your behavior. Usually they just amplify with age. Some people, when they reach be an old age, they just ignore the behavior, even though it's the same as what it was. So, last time we left off, Joseph sent his brothers back. They didn't know it was him. Okay? The first time they came to Egypt, Joseph knew who they were. They didn't recognize him. But he put his silver cup in their sack. He gave them back all their money, filled their sacks with grain, sent them home. And on the way home, they stopped to rest. Yeah. Campsite on the way home, and one of them checked their sacks, probably to get a little food out to eat, and they noticed that they still had their money. They noticed they still had their silver cup in their possessions, or they were still their money in the first place. Anyways, so they thought maybe they were in trouble. Somebody had done evil to them, set them up. Right? The second trip, they had Joseph's silver cup in there. It's probably like if you have a favorite coffee cup. You don't have your coffee cup. There, Joseph did have his favorite cup, put in their sack, and as an added measure of frankness, so to speak, was a way of, I guess it was his way of introducing himself back to his brothers, right? So it's whenever the silver cup was in there, Joseph says to him, he says, you're trying to steal from me. Oh, no. Because he's accused him at one point of being spies early in meeting him. And he said, his oldest is when you go back, tell your father to send your youngest brother with you. And his father says, well, you want to kill my youngest brother? No. Right? So anyways, when They do the second trip, right? He says, I'm gonna keep one of your brothers here, I want you to go back, and I want you to get your youngest brother back. But when he comes back, he introduces himself, and this is where you have now. Uh, so Joseph makes himself known. So Joseph can no longer control himself. He, before all of his attempts.
Before you go there, get back a little later. Why do you think Joseph is more God than he is up here? Because on one hand, I think he was just being crafty. But on the other hand, that brings Judah to the forefront. And Judah is changed because he offers his life to the board of Benjamin.
Yeah.
Okay? And, well, again, I don't know why Joseph did it.
We don't know what Judah's been through since Joseph was considered to be dead. We don't know what his dad did. Obviously, he hands it over his head if he can't get it, because the last time he talks to him, he says about, I have to bring my brother Benjamin to Egypt. And the first thing he says is, the last time my youngest son was with you, he didn't come back. So he brings it right to the forefront. So that's the first thing he says to him.
I think the father's suspicious.
Yeah.
Well, have you ever seen someone grieve the loss of their child? Have you ever seen how it affects them? Can you imagine what your child?
Same as the parent.
And I agree with what you're saying, but I think that at this
Well-
point, Israel, or Jacob, is suspicious of the sons.
Yeah.
I think he feels that there's more to the tale than what they're telling him.
Correct.
Oh,
But I mean, my point is, his kids sat there and watched him grieve, watched, the pain and the agony that he went through. And I'm going to say probably the guilt too, because of the fact that he's the one that sent his son basically to his death in his speaking. He's the one that sent him to go check on his brothers. So, he's going to be filled with guilt on top of it, along with everything else.
and he must have known how he let his son come to the church.
Right.
Well, maybe he realizes
And that's-
might be favored.
But in that environment, in that countryside, imagine that sort of thing when something happened. Every once in a while, you get mauled by a wild animal. But the thing was, his brothers were supposed to protect him, right? And all they could do was bring back his coat and say that with blood on it, and say that he was mauled by a wild animal. It's not like,
He wouldn't have known whether he actually encountered his brothers prior to being mauled or after. Yeah.
To Jacob, he's going through the maturing process. You look at him from his youth to his death, and there's definitely a maturation process where there's some goes going on. And I'm wondering, he, as a child, he was brother with favoritism. Mama loves Jacob, Daddy loves Esau. He's doing the same thing. And I'm wondering if in this interim, he's thinking, saying, I caused him all this. And I think you're right. I think the guilt is there. Because I favored my epic boy because he's my favorite part, his son, blah, blah, blah. And I did this, I did that.
and
I
it seems
know
like
how my
he's,
other sons feel towards him.
it seems like he's not in favor of doing that same thing with Benjamin.
Yeah.
But he still knows.
And he's scared in that way.
Yeah, well, he's at that old age and he has a son. My youngest brother was born, my mother was old enough that she's my best friend's supposed to have. So, he's baby beyond belief. Here, mother talking about that. So,
Okay, come and talk to them, Richard. And the young ones, they go to those, yeah.
So did
Older
Oh.
siblings.
Plummer was in, when he was in school, he didn't want to go to school. So he said he was sick. And then as soon as it was too late to go to school, he got up and said he'd go outside to play. Who's here? So Daniel comes in, goes, we're all good, and he goes, go outside and play. So we all. But like I said, when I got high school, my senior years, I had what I had to have for classes, and at the end of the day, I could at least went home. nothing to eat here, somebody else lunch. And then people really care about those things. But, so, when he makes himself known, right? He meets his brother Benjamin, right? And it's overwhelming to him as far as he's just overcome emotions. So he has to go in the other room. He doesn't want to kill himself right away, right? He's the man of the house. He's in charge. And if he kills him, see if he comes off too weak, he might be back in that role he was with his younger brothers. He was older. He doesn't want to be in that position. So he comes back and he says, Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph, this is my father still living. His brothers weren't able to answer because they were terrified of his presence. For all they knew, their brother was dead. They gave him off into slavery, and who knows what happened then. Here's this guy, second to Pharaoh, so to speak, in the kingdom of Egypt, and he's kind of reformed to a guy having your own brother Joseph. That's got to be a tremendous thing to face right there. But he says to his brothers, come close to me. When they had done so, he said, I am your brother Joseph, one that you sold into Egypt. And now, do not be distressed and don't be angry with yourselves selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you. For 2 years now, there has been famine in the land. For the next 5 years, there will not be plowing and reaping. But God sent me ahead of you to preserve for you a remnant on earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So, I don't know how, if I was Joseph's brother, how would I take that? Each time that he speaks to his father, his father holds something over his head. I guess he's waiting for him to hang something over their heads. Because he tells him, he goes, I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into slavery. So, don't be afraid. Help him. Don't be afraid. What's next? What? Waiting for the pot. But that doesn't come. He says, God put me here. God made it so that I would be here. We look at life and expect the blessings of being a Christian and not the downfalls. In history, in the Bible, it's preaching, teachings, and telling us many times that even it was a blind person and a crippled person, they asked Jesus, they said, for whose sin was this man born this way? Was it the parents of his? And it ain't necessarily a sin that puts you in that position. God, in his infinite wisdom, puts you in a place that he needs you to grow from, whatever it is. So, the guy that was blind, Jesus made him be able to see. He went to the Pharisees. What better way to realize that he is God? The guy that stands before you, that everybody in the society knew he was blind, come before you and can see. And the hardest of so many skeptics would be something to look into. But no, and they only work for a short time.
Well, we don't believe in financial distribution, especially for aviation.
Yeah, today people say, and
Well, the science is what we don't understand. Jesus was Lazarus.
what was it? Today they have tabernacle heaters. They make some movies out of it. In the Midwest, there's tabernacles put up, and they use what they call faith healing. And they'll have somebody come up in a wheelchair. Yeah. and then have somebody, they, don't touch their forehead, and the guy will get out of the wheelchair and walk. But it's safe to walk the forehead. So even then, they probably skeptics said, was he really dead? Maybe they just wrapped him in linen cloth and had him laid in the field for 4 days. Who's to say? But the guy that was blind, everybody knew he was blind. The guy that was lame, lay there next to the water. I think Yosemite. Yeah. And the thing was, is he wasn't, they just planted him there. Everybody, lots of people knew, right? But like I said, whenever good things happen to you, you tend to forget the great things. 9/11, when it happened, the church was filled. The Christmas station was filled. Everybody wanted to go to war. Everybody wanted to be, everybody wanted to step into God's house and be saved, so they wouldn't die because all the sins they were living. Whenever 9/11 passed, they didn't die. How many do you think went right back to the way they were? Miracles don't last forever. Good news doesn't last forever. Bad news lasts a lot longer.
I don't want to sound stupid, but I'm a little bit confused. You said he recognized his brothers. Now, weren't some of these brothers born after? No.
Benjamin was born after.
So how do you recognize him?
He grew up.
I thought Benjamin was born after.
Not Benjamin. Benjamin, he didn't know.
Okay.
Benjamin, he asked about it. He said about Benjamin. He asked him to bring him. And that's when they went back to get him. And his dad said, but the last time I sent my youngest son to see about you, he didn't come home at all. Right? You want me to send my youngest now so that you can get, so he can die too? He held it over the bed. But Reuben says, well, send them, and if anything happens to them, you do what you want with my sons. So he, in other words, he said, it'll be on me. And he took full responsibility for Benjamin's well-being. And they ran out of food. Then they said it was their father. They said, what are you doing? He goes, well, you go and get the food. He goes, I can't. He goes, the guy at Egypt told me, if I don't come back with my youngest brother, that we wouldn't get anything. He goes, so what are you going to send me on my own to get nothing? And he says, he goes, look, nothing will happen to him. Now, I take full responsibility for his well-being, right? And then he sent him, he goes, all right, we'll take him, right? Get the food that we need so we can live.
And that's where I was.
But you say, how do you recognize them? But we're older. If you come up to somebody that you knew, you're younger, with Joseph, there's 11 of them there, and he's recognizing each one. So maybe at first, but then it clicks. Hey, I recognize everyone. I know
It's 11.
no, it'd be 10. Here's the 11. So it'd be 10 plus Benjamin. Okay. But in the first round, there's what, 10.
They were. Okay.
You,
How
Joseph,
many of them were responsible for some of them?
10.
All of them did.
Well,
Well, they don't mention a few of them.
But he was the baby then.
yeah. You go a baby, 17.
But he was the youngest.
They thought he was They thought he was there.
Maybe people.
Well, God gave him a dream, a prophecy, and I think he brought a message to him off key, but he told him exactly how he saw it. Even to his dad.
And the one I think is Rabbi Clark. And he says, he didn't say Christian congregation, but he said, I want to be clear that it's common among raised Joseph and see no bad. He's not a Christian. He's almost all good. But they see this boy as just perfect. And they want it. He's a brat. He's arrogant.
Well, he was given a prophecy. I mean, if you're not used to getting prophecy, maybe he asked him, what's the name? When Baker and the,
How many teenagers, if they're gifted like that, you know, I mean, daddy goes to
Yeah.
anybody else. God's giving me these friends.
he gave me a coat that looks elaborate. My brother's got nothing.
He's making air.
Yeah.
He's was a teenager.
He would have been right.
And I
He
think
grew up quite a bit. We went all the time. But he relied on God and everything.
he did comments. He certainly got it.
But he relied on God and everything. From Potiphar's household to the dungeon and the prison to being second Pharaoh. But
By that point, though, you're rejected by your brothers and soul. And I'm not saying he wasn't a godly teenager. Nobody's perfect. Not that era or this.
Yeah.
And there's Christians who have legit experience with Christ, and they're arrogant circumstances. And some of the main ministers walk away from the Lord. So he may have been godly. When he's on his own, Christians are going to try to realize, my dad was sacrificed a year before he died. It's a hospital. Okay? He finally, as though he looked up and said, wow, I'm full of these things. And sometimes that's what it is. He looked up and said, wow, there's no else to turn.
there's some people, I watch YouTube videos with some people on there, they say, well, if you could travel back in time, right, change something in your life, what would it be? And, well, let's just face it, it wouldn't change anything. Because the past is what makes what you are today. Yes. And if you went back and changed something, what would you change the next time? Right? Because you may not be happy with the way that things turned out.
You don't know what the outcome's gonna
Yeah.
be, that these little things will change.
Yeah. They took people to the science they call it butterfly effect. Right? They said, well, if you went back in prehistoric times and you stepped on a butterfly, you changed the whole outlook for everything out the line. Well, I don't know. I just wanted to fly yesterday. I don't know what's going to happen.
Our story, originated, not true, story by
I think that it has to be more, a lot of that aspect
well,
because
the story itself is like science fiction by Desmond Grant. And it's time travel. Well, sort of. And that's where they get the phrase. They use the word as well.
Yeah.
It's an interesting story. It's not a Christian story.
No, do you think it was Joseph ever wondered? He doesn't, because he says, for this reasons that I'm placed here. God put me here for a reason. God made me endure all those things so that as I got moved along and eventually ended up in a position where I could help others. And that is where he's at now. Now he says, here, you can see for yourselves, and so can my brother Benjamin, that it is really I who am speaking to you. So tell my father about all the honor afforded me in Egypt, and about everything you have seen, and bring my father down here quickly. So he tells him, he goes, now you've seen that it is me, right? Because he already had to meet with his brother Benjamin. You know, he embraces him, and I don't know how Benjamin feels about this, you know, because he didn't know Joseph at all. I mean, undoubtedly they talked about it. You know? But when Pharaoh finds out, he goes, when the news reached Pharaoh's palace that Joseph's brothers had come, Pharaoh and all of his officials were pleased. Joseph did a lot for him. Right? He placed him in a position of authority, and he was not, displeased. I mean, Egypt was saved because of Joseph. And Pharaoh is thinking, yeah, I'm the right man for the job. You know, even today in some businesses, I mean, if you make the company you work for, you make them a wealthy company, keep them afloat, right? Because, and it does for bad news, the same as a lot of things for good news, right? If you're that good, right? And Joseph was that good. God blessed him really well, right? And with every aspect, I mean, it took a lot of arrogance. Joseph stood before the Pharaoh. Pharaoh goes, "Where you can interpret dreams?" But only God can interpret dreams. And he would tell me what you need to know, right? So, and when they told me his dream, it's like, whoa. So, anyways, he tells Joseph, he tells your brothers, do this. Load your animals and return to the land of Canaan. Bring your father and your families back to me. I will give you the best of the land of Egypt. You will enjoy the fat of the land. So, because Joseph was so renowned and revered in Egypt, you know, his brothers get to, in a sense, enjoy the fat of the calf. Right? So, I mean, I don't know about you.
Why do you give Benjamin more than me?
Yeah, see, that's my view.
I'm saying because he didn't have nothing to do with selling.
Very true. He
And
didn't.
he's out treat this and better because he didn't do put me on.
I don't know why he gave more, but other than the fact that, hey, this is my youngest brother, first time I've seen him, you know,
That's right.
I'm overjoyed.
He had nothing to do with selling.
Yeah, that's probably it. Better for the team. There's something he learned from his father, I guess.
Wasn't Benjamin born before Joseph? I could have sworn he was.
Benjamin was born after.
Yeah.
Because Joseph had never seen him. So, so the sons of Israel did this. Joseph gave them carts as Pharaoh's commander, and he also gave them provisions for their journey. To each of them he gave new clothing. To Benjamin, he gave 300 shekels of silver and 5 sets of clothes. And this is what he sent to his father: 10 donkeys loaded with the best things of Egypt, 10 female donkeys loaded with grain, bread, and other provisions for his journey. And then he sent his brothers away. And as they were leaving, he said to them, "Don't quarrel on the way." He remembered his brothers. He remembered them very well.
Yeah.
I mean, when you set out on a trip, right? Mom and dad sit around and go, "Any fighting?" You know, how many times you heard your dad say,
Right back then.
"We're turning this car right around, going right back home, and nobody is going to Sears." Yeah, pretty much. So that part cracked me up. So they went out of Egypt and came to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan. They told him Joseph is still alive. This has got to be like hook in the eye, so to speak. You know, go and told your dad that your brother's dead. Go to Egypt and come back. Hey, he's not dead. He's alive. How do you give for that? You know, how do you give for that? All this time, you know, he thought his son was dead. You know, yeah.
Because in fact, in mind, we got something.
You can't hide something like that. You can't go from somebody being told that you're dead to told you're alive and without some kind of other story to go with it. You know. So they went up. And it said, in fact, he is the ruler of all of Egypt. Jacob was stunned, did not believe them. But when they told him everything Joseph had said to them, and when he saw the carts Joseph had sent to carry him back, the spirit of the father of Jacob revived. And Israel said, "I'm convinced. My son Joseph is alive. I will go and see him." Okay. Now, I don't know, maybe the carts, all the donkeys that they didn't leave with. In fact, his son Benjamin had 5 sets of clothes. What'd you do, Robbie? Is that what you did? Rummage so? You got stuff in California where you can just take what you want. On 70-inch screen TV, you can just take it as long as it's something to help you live. Yeah, maybe when you want it. So Israel set out all that was his. When he reached Beersheba, he offered sacrifices to God his father Isaac. And God spoke to him in a vision. At night he said, Jacob, Jacob, here I am. Replied, I am God, the God of your father. He said, do not be afraid to go down to Egypt. For I will make you into a great nation. I will go down to Egypt with you, and I will surely bring you back again. Joseph's own hand was your eyes. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, many a father always wished that their sons could marry them. Nobody wants to marry their children. Everybody wants their children to marry them. And this is God telling them that you're going to survive, and you're going to see your life. You're going to see your sons in the last days of your life, and that is an extreme lesson in many aspects of many cultures. So then Jacob left Beersheba. Israel's sons took their father Jacob and their children and their wives and the carts that Pharaoh had sent them to transport them. And he also took with him their livestock and possessions they had acquired in Canaan. And Jacob and all of his offspring went to Egypt. He took with him to Egypt his sons and grandsons and daughters, granddaughters, and all his offspring. Now they list all of his offspring here. In one part, really copy the sons of Simeon, Jamal, Jamin, Ohab, Jekin, Zohar, and Shaul, the son of a Canaanite woman. And I had looked it up, because why does this thing decide now, the son of a Canaanite woman? And the only thing I could find was that when you get into Deuteronomy, God tells them do not have relations with the Canaanites. Yes. So God knew, even then,
Who else would be there? Living in Canaan, and this is very unique.
Well,
Sisters.
yeah. Well, there's a lot of offspring on the Jacob that, I mean, even today, they say in New York, there's like 4 or 6 square city blocks. It's all Jewish people. Yeah, and nobody marries them but another Jew. They arrange marriages before they're born, right? And when they get older, they have a business, they have a place to live. Everything is set up. You can't buy anything within these 4 city perimeters and non-city blocks. It's all owned by the
Drive through it sometime. You see them in the roads,
Yep.
with curls.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
But aren't there other nationalities in New York that do the same thing?
Chinatown.
Supposedly, every nationality on earth
Is
is
in New
somewhere in New York. They tell you in Queens, New York, any kind of food you want to eat on earth is violation. I don't know if it's true.
I mean, in Little Italy, and they got Chinatown.
Yeah, that's what I
Same in
think.
San Francisco, California, by San Francisco, they have. When you go through it, there ain't no, you don't see like anything but Chinese in that area. So,
You start-
I think it was the Du Bois had a lot to do with the ones they brought it in for. They didn't want that.
There are a lot of people that think that we're Jews in New York City, and we're Eastern. That's true.
They bring up those nationalities into work, they didn't want to talk to one another before communities.
But the Israelis will accept Jews to be part of the earth. They really don't want to love the Americans because the ones in America stand up for Israel. It's a vote fraud. But they're a voice for Israel, so that you shouldn't keep the American Jews in America.
yeah, well, they have the same conflicts here that you do over there. It's a Western scale. You can't exactly wage war out between Palestinians and Israelis in New York, but you can in Palestine.
Well, the Jews here don't have a voice.
So, I mean, if you read through the listing of all the sons and daughters, and granddaughters and grandsons Israel had, there's a lot. And all of them went with, now that's a big upbringing to back everybody up and move. Now, in this circumstance, it's a difference between living famines in the land, and nothing's growing. So they took all of the things they had and they went to Egypt. Because God told them that, go, I'll go with you, and you'll survive. And if I tell him you're going to survive, he tells him, your youngest son, Joseph, will be the one that closes your eyes. That's a pretty significant thing. And then it said, all those who went to Egypt with Jacob, those were his direct descendants, not counting his sons' wives, numbered 66 persons, with the 2 sons that had been born into Joseph in Egypt. The members of Jacob's family which went to Egypt were 70 in all. 70 people traveled. And I didn't look up the distance and how long it would take to travel. Right? All those kids and all the grandkids. I mean, when you travel today, you got kids and grandkids in the car. Some of you. That or you'd be stalking them.
Funny things.
Yeah.
On the side of the road. Have you ever do those?
No, I wouldn't have
With
thought
your
of
kids?
that. They're gonna play from level 1 burger roll.
So now Jacob sent Judah ahead of him to Joseph to get directions to Goshen. They already made the trip so many times, but 3? Now they're going to ask directions.
Goshen.
Oh, that's outside.
Well, it's part of Egypt, and it's the part where you put the people on the sushi.
Yeah.
We did because Joseph's there, and that came different. The Egyptians came here.
No.
Yeah, because.
Yeah, so they're going to Goshen. Joey said it's not like, well, you can have that section.
It wasn't that section, good for hurting, so. But
Well, he didn't have, they didn't have shepherds. Read on, we see that they didn't care. But they didn't care for the Israelite people either. If you weren't Egyptian, they didn't say, oh, you're not. Because that's when Joseph set up that dinner that earlier we talked about it. He sat in one place, they ate another place, and then his Egyptian servants, the ones that ran his household, they were off in another place. It was the testament for them to sit in the same room and eat.
which was a safeguard. I think Morgan plays that commentary. There was a safeguard because you don't be God didn't talk about marriage, especially the Egyptians. They were involved in this kind of push Jews. So sometimes with discrimination,
Read on here, we see that when they arrived in Goshen, they said when they arrived in the region of Goshen, Joseph had his chariot made ready, went to Goshen to meet his father Israel. And as soon as Joseph appeared before him, there was arms around his father and he wept. So Israel said to Joseph, his peace, I'm ready to die now. I've seen for myself that you are still alive. You know, sometimes you can see it in a bird people going, ah, I'm ready to go. Can't get any better than this. This is the top of the line. Stop me now before it goes downhill. Joseph said, he was dead to me for a long time, now he's alive. I'm weak. So Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's household, I will go up and speak to Pharaoh, and I'll say to him, my brothers and my father's household who are living in the land of Canaan have come to me. The men are shepherds, and they tend livestock. They have brought along flocks, herds, and everything they own. When Pharaoh calls you and asks, what is your occupation? You should answer, your servants have tended livestock from your boyhood on, just as our father did. And then you will be allowed to settle in the region of Goshen, where all shepherds are detestable Egyptians. So Joseph said to him, he said, hey, you go to Pharaoh, this is what to tell him. You know, don't let you know. I'll tell you what to say, you say. All that is all takes. Right? Joseph went and told Pharaoh, my father and brothers with their livestock, everything they own have come to the land of Canaan and are now in Goshen. He chose 5 of his brothers and presented them before Pharaoh. Pharaoh asked his brothers, "What is your occupation?" "Your servants are shepherds," replied Pharaoh. "This is our fathers' word." And they also said to him, "We have come to live here for a while, because the famine is severe in Canaan, and your servants' flocks have no pasture. So now, please, let your servants settle in Goshen." Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Your father and your brothers have come to you, and the land of Egypt is before you. Summon your father and your brothers in the best part of the land, and let them live in Goshen. And if you know any of them with special ability, put them in charge of my own livestock." So when Pharaoh seeing here, he says, Joseph was such a blessing, right, to my kingdom. His brothers got to be great too, right? Apples don't fall too far from the tree. So he's telling Joseph that. He says, if any of your brothers or any of your descendants or any of them are great with livestock, I don't know, right? Bring them to me so they can take care of my livestock, because what you get for Egypt is anything close to what they can do with my livestock. Hey, that's a blessing on a blessing. And Joseph brought his father Jacob and presented him before Pharaoh. And after Jacob blessed Pharaoh, Pharaoh asked him, "Hey, how old are you?" Right? And this is old people talk, right? Now, my nephew said when my grandma, he said, "It must be like a scent." She took offense to that. But what he meant was, she walks into Walmart, it's like all the old people regulate to the same section. It's like all the sniffles, so to speak. They don't. They just can't remember who they are, right? But for some reason, it's like, why? You know, but they all talk to each other like they've never met, never known each other for years, right? So that's why I read this. I figured it's just two old people talking. Oh, what are you? Jacob said to Pharaoh, "The years of my pilgrimage are 130. My years have been few and difficult, but they have not equaled the years of the pilgrimage of my fathers." And Jacob blessed Pharaoh and went out of his presence. Now, guess what he's telling him is 130, but my ancestors were longer. Right? You know, we come from a long line of old people that live 98 years. Now, I don't know if that's considered to be a blessing in your life to live a long time. But I guess it would be in that environment. You know, it ain't like, there were bandits and there were thieves and there were, all kinds of, not pleasant things in that land. You know, the fact that you had a big family helped out. It's like having a living army in your house.
Pharaoh's knew this part. And Moses really did make sense. What the Semitic priests controlled Egypt and gave but Pharaoh controlled them. He let shepherds blessing before him.
With his father Joseph, who brought many blessings and he
Understand when Pharaoh is humble,
Yeah.
especially if there's couriers around there. And what the New Testament says, a lesser is always less than greater. It's interesting.
So Joseph settled his father and his brothers in Egypt and gave them property, the best part of the land, the Ramses, his favorite record. And Joseph also provided his father and all of his father's household with food according to the number of their children. So not only did he set them up with a good place to live, but he also gave them a lot of food and stuff like that so they could survive for a while. Many of the blessings of position and power, I guess. I read this, I see the fact that, as I said, Pharaoh was really pleased with Joseph and how he, saved Egypt. So I guess maybe he figures, Father wants, if the Father wants to bless me, God's with him stronger, because he's the Father of the Son that's in the earth, so God's with him. And what do I have to lose? You know what I mean? Kind of like with one of the other Daniel, he says, you know, give me 3 days. He goes, fine, I'm going to give you the prophecy. You know, tell me what my dream means. What do I have to lose? I can still kill you in a couple days. I can't kill you now. Thank you, Lord Jesus, for bringing us together, studying your word, see the insight of Joseph and his life and his father, and how your blessings on him spread out like water on the ground. His father was blessed through him, or from him through you, and Pharaoh, even all what he thought was his greatness, was still blessed by you through Joseph and through many of the things that you blessed him with. We thank you for letting us see this and how great your blessings are in our lives. We not consider them to be like sheets of paper scrambled to throw away. We ask you to bring the Jerry's, bring the message, bring the blessing this day, and in Jesus' name.